Jessica Jones is the second Marvel/Netflix thing to come out after Daredevil, which, as you know, I frickin' love. And what this show's about is Jessica Jones, played by Kristen Ritter. She's a private eye, but she has super strength and the ability to fly. Fortunately, she's not a superhero who dresses up like Iron Man or Captain America. She's more of an anti-hero. She's a drunk, she's had a troubled past, and literally just doesn't like anyone, and no one really likes her. But then something from her past starts to come back, and she needs to deal with it. And that would mainly have to do with the villain Kilgrave, played by David Tennant. And he is also superpowered. He has the ability to make people do whatever he wants. He could tell you, hey, jump off that bridge, and you will jump off the bridge. Before I actually review this thing, my pal Nate from Stupid Beagle Reviews is actually going to be collabing with me for this one. So Nate, you should review Jessica Jones right now.
Hello everybody on Jackson Fulcher's channel. I am Nate from Stupid Beagle Reviews, as he probably just barely said. And I'm here back on this channel to review Jessica Jones, which might be my new favorite Marvel Cinematic Universe thing. I mean, we had another show on Netflix for Daredevil, which I loved. I mean, I had a review of that on my channel before. I don't really think I really gave that justice. I mean, I underrated it a little bit. And this new Marvel Netflix show called Jessica Jones is basically about this guy called Kilgrave, played by David Tennant, who is literally using mind control to rape people. He can control his mind and then rape people and kill them and have them do his bidding. And he's been causing a lot of problems throughout the city, and he's killing many people. So this person called Jessica Jones, who's like a private investigator, who also has powers, but she can't mind control. She can do things like jump really high and have super strength and stuff like that. This whole show is basically her trying to track Kilgrave down and end him. So I was really looking forward to watching the series. After the success of Daredevil, I was so excited to see more of what Marvel Netflix could do, and I like this more than Daredevil. I'm serious, I like this more than Daredevil. Jessica Jones is one of the best shows I've ever seen. I love the dark tone of the show. It's very violent, it's very dark. Kristen Ritter as Jessica Jones does an incredible job, and I just love the tone of the show. It's so suspenseful, so dark. You really feel the air in Jessica Jones, if you know what I'm saying. You can really feel like you're there in this big city that's rotting and a lot of bad things are happening in it. Especially because the show is so realistic. I mean, Kristen Ritter's performance is so real. She basically just goes around treating everyone like crap. And Kristen Ritter nails it in this role. As Jessica Jones, she is incredible. She's rude to everyone, she's super awesome, and Kristen Ritter nails it in this show. And I can't go without mentioning David Tennant. I mean, oh my gosh, this is one of the best villains I have ever seen in my life. And he's better than Kingpin in Daredevil. I mean, David Tennant's villain is exactly what a villain needs to be. You need to hate him. You need to understand where he's coming from, and you do, because later in the show, they show some of his past, and you really understand this guy and start to feel bad for him. I mean, this is exactly what they need to do for a villain, and David Tennant really nails it in this performance. I mean, people love him as the Doctor, but I highly doubt he's ever played someone as complex as Kilgrave. Kilgrave, yeah, that's his name. Did I even mention what his name was? The way he uses mind control is just so intimidating, and literally throughout the show I was thinking, what if he did this? What if he did that? If that makes any sense. I was literally thinking about what he's capable of. If I had these powers, what would I be able to accomplish? This is a thought-provoking villain with his powers. I mean, I thought about what happened if I would have this power, what I'd be able to do. And he's so good. I mean, David Tennant is exactly what a villain needs to be. And also, I can't go without mentioning Luke Cage. Luke Cage, oh my gosh, he's kind of Jessica Jones' love interest in this show. I mean, he's big, he's buff, he's basically Bruce Willis from Unbreakable. He has skin that you can't penetrate. And Luke Cage, he's getting his own show later on, and I am so excited to see that. He is already such a compelling character. And also, I have to mention Trish, Jessica's best friend. Trish is like the only person Jessica actually loves in life. They actually grew up together for reasons that I won't spoil, and she's basically like a sister to her, and Trish is basically always watching out for her, and I think she's a really good presence in this show, really good character. And also this police officer guy named Simpsons, really great in this show. I absolutely loved him. I felt bad for him a lot of the time. For me, episode 1 is basically just a setup for the entire series. It's not like gonna really hook you like the other episodes are, but then when you go to the second episode, you're like, yes, this is amazing. That's basically what the second episode did for me. There was a lot more action in the second episode, and I was like, I can definitely see myself being addicted to the show, and I did end up being addicted to it. I mean, when I was done with the series, I was very sad because I did not want the show to end. I mean, I was like questioning my life after the show was done. There are so many suspenseful sequences that made me freak out and sweat and move my arms and legs around and everything. The stuff that Kilgrave does really puts you on edge. I mean, he could tell someone to stab themselves many times in the heart, and they would do it. And stuff like that happens in the show, and it's just, there's one moment where someone impales himself with these giant scissor things because of Kilgrave, and and Jessica's chemistry with the characters also really worked. Jessica and Trish and Luke Cage would have to work together to solve something, and I really bought them together. They were really awesome, and her chemistry works with all of them. I mean, I can't wait for Defenders, because both Jessica and Luke Cage are probably going to be in that show, and Daredevil, so I am so excited for Defenders. And there were so many times when I was really disturbed, because there are a lot of disturbing things in this show, and I love that, because I'm more of a sucker for dark things. I mean, I like, Avengers is a great movie, but I way more prefer the DC stuff because it's much more dark, and I really like dark things like this. So that's probably why I love this show more than anything in the cinematic universe. If I were to have one flaw with this show, I'd say that the climax is a little bit weak. There's like so much build-up to it. That's fantastic build-up, fantastic. But the final confrontation between Jessica and Tennant, aka Kilgrave, was a little bit lacking to me. I felt like it happened too easily. I felt like it was a little bit easily solved, and it just happens too fast. It's like my only problem with the show, because I was a little bit disappointed by that aspect. But overall, Jessica Jones is an incredible show. If you haven't checked it out yet, what are you doing? Watch it now! And I'm gonna give Jessica Jones an A. Alright, Jackson, thanks for having me on here again. And back to you. Review it now. That's what everyone wanted in the first place. Go do it.
I was actually interested in watching the show, not only because I had loved Daredevil, but also I didn't know anything about the character. I didn't know anything about her story or anything like that. And I was just wondering, can the Netflix shows actually be as good as Daredevil? Because Daredevil, as good as it is, it had a really good writer, Drew Goddard. So I was a little worried, are the Netflix Marvel shows going to start to not be as good because Daredevil was only good because of Drew Goddard? And I am proud to say that, no, Jackson, you're wrong! This show is frickin' phenomenal, and I like it, like, just as much as Daredevil, and I am shocked that I am actually saying that. For one, Kristen Ritter nails it as Jessica Jones. She was great. She really did pull off the essence of being a jerk, but you like this jerk. Because she's not a bad guy. She just has a very troubled life that you can kind of relate to and understand. That's what makes good characters, the fact that you can understand them. And Jessica Jones is a very understandable, drunk douchebag anti-hero. Speaking of understanding, what I loved about the villain in Daredevil, Kingpin, was the fact that later on you actually understood his maniacness. And the villain in this show, Kilgrave, they actually do delve into him, and you can understand him, and David Tennant knocks it out of the park with Kilgrave. Kilgrave is honestly one of the best Marvel villains ever. He is up there with Loki and Kingpin. He is so freaking awesome. Yes, he is a bad guy, and he is a sick sick person. What he does in this show is really sick. But you love hating this guy. Just every time he left the screen, I was like, oh no, more Kilgrave, please. David Tennant literally wowed me. He was so good. He literally stole the entire show. It's like he and Jessica Jones had a very great dynamic with each other, and their chemistry, they're so good together. David Tennant, it's so good. And speaking of chemistry, Jessica Jones has her best friend sidekick character Trish, and she was actually pretty good. She wasn't annoying. They actually are connected because of their past, and it's actually a pretty cool past, and you like the past element. The past element makes you understand the characters more, and that makes you love the characters. The characters are all good. There isn't a single bad one. However, there are some that kind of start off annoying. For example, there is this one character that at first I was like, just get her off the screen. But later on I was like, okay, I can kind of see where you're coming from. You're okay. There are even some characters where at first I didn't know where they were going. For example, one of Jessica Jones's neighbors, Malcolm, I didn't know where his character was going, but he actually turned out to be pretty good. And Carrie Ann Moss, she plays the character Hogarth, basically Jessica Jones's boss, and she kind of has this ex-wife, lesbian, cheating, all this backstory stuff, and you're like, is this gonna lead to something eventually? And it does! So I was actually like, oh, thank goodness, so you actually did have a purpose to be in this show. Great job! And of course, one of my new favorite characters in the whole Marvel Universe, Luke Cage. This guy was freaking cool. Luke Cage was actually really awesome in the show. He and Jessica Jones kind of worked off each other very well, and this is actually a good setup to his Netflix show because he's actually gonna get his own. And he's gonna be in The Defenders, which is the Netflix Marvel Avengers, basically. He and Jessica worked off each other very well, and I can't wait to see them both on screen again because I really like their chemistry. Oh yes, and the fight scene. There isn't really any big action scenes like in Age of Ultron or Winter Soldier or Guardians of the Galaxy because it's a Netflix show where the action in the movies are very escalated. The ones in the show are scaled down, and you can understand it, and it honestly works better because the Defenders are basically the B-team Avengers thing. So if they have big adventures like the Avengers, it's like, well then, why don't they just call in the Avengers? Having smaller conflicts that wouldn't show up on the Avengers' radar or anything actually makes sense for this whole series. And the action scenes, once again, are very good, like in Daredevil also, except I was a little disappointed simply because there's this amazing action scene in the first season of Daredevil where it's a one-take shot and Daredevil is basically just beating the crap out of everyone down this hall. I love that, and I was hoping we'd get another one-shot action scene like that in Jessica Jones, and we didn't really get anything like that. We had some really cool action scenes. Kristen Ritter did very good in these action scenes, so did Luke Cage, because he has to fight some people because he's very strong and has unbreakable skin, so he has to be featured. I'm not complaining about it, I'm just saying I wish they had a scene like the Daredevil one, but that's okay, it's fine. And guys, this show is so riveting, so suspenseful, it's just crafted perfectly. Like, everyone cared about this project, and it paid off. Everything about this show paid off, and it was so investing that over Thanksgiving break, I literally had nothing else to do, so I literally finished, like, episode 6 through 13. Those are the last, like, 7 episodes of the season, and I finished them. I only had those left, so I finished them all because I was bored in one day. That's how riveting this show was. It actually made me watch, like, 7 hours of Jessica Jones. Seriously, if you haven't watched the show yet, do it immediately. It is so good. My only flaw with the show is that the ending to me felt a little anticlimactic. Like they were building it up so psychologically and oh my, this is gonna pay off in one really great ending. But instead the big end fight was just kind of like, oh, okay. I mean, it was good, just it felt a little bit too easy, if you know what I mean. But overall, this show is phenomenal. I freaking love it just as much as Daredevil, and I'm gonna give Jessica Jones an A. I loved it, loved it, loved it! And seriously, guys, if you haven't been watching the Marvel Netflix shows, you must. You just can't. You can't not watch them, because they are honestly better than some of the Marvel movies. That's right, they're better than some of the Marvel movies. Heck, Daredevil and Jessica Jones are both better than Ant-Man and Age of Ultron, and those came out this year. I am dead serious. Watch them. But if you have watched season 1 of Jessica Jones, leave in the comments below what you thought of it. And I would like to thank my guest star Nate from Stupid Beagle Reviews for collabing with me. He's such a great friend, and we talk a lot about Anna Kendrick all the time, and he's cool to talk to about that because no one else obsesses over Anna Kendrick like I do. Yeah. In all seriousness, though, he does make some pretty good videos. I like the dude. He's cool. Please subscribe. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.